Do you have a big dream? But then, do you get times in life when you feel stuck and you're not living your dream life? That's we're going to talk about that today. This is Now Tell Us. I'm your host, Anthony Morore. At Now Tell Us, we have guests come and tell us stories. They come and inspire us. They come and educate us on a subject. And always, we are having a great time every episode. And so this one too is going to be a great one. We have a guest who is known as Lauren St. George. She's going to tell us about getting unstuck and living the life of your dreams. I won't take one more minute. I will just ask you to join me to go and meet her. Please remember to share this episode with all your friends. If you have a question, please ask. If you have a comment, we appreciate feedback. So, yeah, let's get things going. Here we go. Hello, Lauren.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. Welcome to my show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, yeah, this is Now Tell Us, and we are glad that you're here. Where are you?
I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia, so I'm on the in the USA.
That's wonderful. And how is it there today? How's the weather?
The weather is lovely. It's not too hot, not too cold, and we've got some blue skies, so I can't complain.
Yeah, in the US, that's where we all want to be and living the American dream, the one that we've always been sold. I'm not there myself, but I wish I was in your place. Were you born there?
I was not born here. I'm originally from South Africa, and I grew up there. And when I was a teenager, we moved to the US, and then I've lived in a few different places around the US and ended up down in Atlanta, which I'm really enjoying. It's a pretty cultural city with people from all over the world, and we have an airport that gets us anywhere, so we can certainly travel and get out to the rest of the world because I do like to travel.
I bet you are enjoying. Now, um, what do you do, if I may ask?
What do I do? I am a coach and a consultant.
Hmm.
I work with companies and individuals to solve what I call big, hairy problems, and to think more creatively, to vision the future, and to come up with a plan to get there. So I do that with big Fortune 500 companies, and then I've found that the methods and the ways that I work with companies to be disruptive and to really be creative in their thinking works really well with individuals as well. So I've started up a program to help people to figure out really what they want to do next in their life.
That's beautiful. And don't you bet that anybody wants to do something with their life? I mean, when I was small, I dreamt of big dreams, going to places that I would enjoy, like let's say living in a big house. I haven't accomplished that yet, so I still have a big dream. Driving the best car in the world. And I bet you did too. How was your dream when you were in South Africa and growing up? And at what point did you move to the US?
I moved when I was 14, so enough time in South Africa that it still has left its marks on me, and it's a country that I deeply love.
Mhm.
For all its troubles and history. My father's still there, so I still have a connection to the country. So I moved as a teenager, which now means I've lived more in the US than I have in South Africa. But I we all have dreams, right? And we have them from when we're young, and then they change as we
Mhm.
get older. But I also think along the way we lose sight of those dreams because we take on other people's dreams, or we take on responsibilities and obligations, and sometimes we lose track of what was once important to us. And so that's kind of where I come in, and where I help people to get back on get back on track, or to figure out what their new dream is, right? Because things do change.
Yeah, dreams do change. That's what I was thinking. The
Hmm.
dreams that I had when I was young, at some point they changed because of things happening in my life. Because life happens.
Life does happen.
Life has happened.
As we've all just seen, right, going through this global pandemic, I think it's
Hmm.
it's it's forced a lot of people to reevaluate what's really important to them in their life. And we all had a lot of extra time on our hands, staying quarantined and at home, and I think it did force people to think about, what is my life going to look like on the other side of this, and what do I want, and is what I'm doing right now the right thing. So I think we've had a sort of global kind of, reckoning, a wake-up call for some people.
Was coaching what you were doing back then when the thing happened? Or did you start
My
some,
my
yeah.
family did. My family
Mhm.
did. We had an early case of COVID in our house, so we took it very seriously, and stayed largely out of, the general public for many months. While it wasn't officially everyone needed to quarantine like they did in Italy, and other parts of the world, we certainly, our family took it very seriously, and our friends and the people around us did as well.
Mm. So much happened during that time, and so much happens. Even there are people who have experienced worse things apart from being in the COVID era. The-
Hmm.
So and do things do happen, and then that's where you come in. So would like you to tell us how to get unstuck. Yes, I have a big dream. Things have happened in my life, and I don't know what. You will tell us the things that you've experienced in your coaching career, and then how do I pick up from there and move on to accomplish things in my life?
Well, we all do have, as you said, we all do come across things, and things happen in our life that set us back, or get
Hmm.
us to a place of feeling stuck, or unclear of what we want to do next. So, life has a way of kind of knocking us down.
Hmm.
I think we all get, at some point, we get to many of us get to a point of going, enough is enough," and I don't want to feel this way anymore, or it's time for a change, or, um, if I don't pursue that dream now, I'm going to be saying what if. And I think for a lot of people, the sort of what if is a hard one. Like, I'd rather try and fail than not, be lying on my deathbed one day going, "What if?" Or "I wish I had." Right.
Hmm.
There's inflection points in many people's lives where, that something has happened, whether it's divorce, you've become an empty nester, or you're thinking about retirement, or you really want to change careers, or there's some major sort of pivot point where people tend to find me, because they're at a point of going, "Well, what do I do next?" And that's the question that I seek to help them answer, which is, what's next for me.
Hmm.
And so, oftentimes when people do come to me, they're at that point of feeling stuck and unsure, and but they've at least hit the point of, I need to do something.
Yeah.
There is a desire to move forward, and I think that that's the starting place. There's always, regardless of what's happened to us, is the process of probably mourning and grieving the change that has happened, or what we have lost, or but we do get to a point then of going, I now need to get myself out of this place. And so, that's where I come in. I'm very much about thinking about the future. I am not a therapist, and there is a place and a time for when people need to do that work. But I think when you're ready to actually put the attention and the energy into figuring out what it is that you want to do next in your life, then that's where I come in. And so we spend time really, getting helping people get reacquainted with themselves, what's important to them, where their interests lie, what really is, where are their strengths, what are the things they don't want to do. What I think, um, there comes a point where the things that we once perceived as weaknesses are also just things maybe we just don't want to touch, right?
Mm,
If I'm not strong in math, well, then I probably don't want to become an accountant, so I can mark that off of the list.
yeah.
So we spend time doing that. Um, and I think then once you kind of have an idea and a vision of where you want to get to, then it's really about figuring out the why. I think the why is incredibly important because it becomes the thing that motivates you.
Hmm.
And I think you have to peel the onion back on the why, because oftentimes I think the first answer we give, where whatever it is, the goal that we've set for ourselves, and you ask why is that important to you, um, we often give kind of that surface level reasoning, and I think you got to peel the onion back and ask yourself, channel your inner 4-year-old and ask yourself the question why a few times and kind of dig a little deeper. But I think once you get to what the heart of why you want to do something, that can be a very powerful place to come from, because it gives you that motivation
Mm,
to keep going. So once you've got that vision and you have your why, then it's really about looking at what are the things that are going to be in your way. What are the obstacles that you have to overcome in order to get to that vision? Because we all have obstacles,
yeah.
and those obstacles will vary in size and complexity. And so I get people to make lists of what those obstacles are, and then section them out. What's the gravel, what are the rocks, and what are the boulders? So the gravel is what's the easier things for me to overcome. They're kind of the low hanging fruit. Then they've got the rocks, they're going to take a little bit more energy to work through, but I can do it. And then there's the boulders, and the boulders might be things that are just, they're too big for me to move. I either have to deal with them, uh, not take them into account, or I've got to figure out how to get around them.
Hmm.
And then you've got to decide where you want to start, because
Hmm.
the low hanging fruit is the easier stuff to get done, which is great. You can get some good wins there in overcoming the small stuff. And then some people like to start on the other end and tackle something that's probably a little bit bigger and meatier.
Mm,
But I think you have to take stock of what are the things that are going to be obstacles, and think through those, because they're going to show up.
yeah.
And what you don't want is, you don't want to be in a place where something shows up and knocks you backwards to the point where you just give up,
Mm,
because that's going to happen. We're not necessarily going to get it right the first time. We need to learn and iterate and keep trying, because getting to a dream is not easy. It's probably the reason why a lot of us haven't started working towards that dream, because it can seem so large and so difficult to get there. So part of what I try to do is break it into pieces, into manageable pieces, so that you can step your way towards where you want to get to.
mm,
Um, and then the big thing after that, once you've kind of figured out how you're going to overcome those obstacles, I think the last piece is how you're going to stay motivated,
mhm,
because motivation is one of those things that comes and goes. And if we do encounter some setbacks, or if we do feel like we failed at something, how do we pick ourselves up? How do we continue to go? Um, and so there's a variety of ways that you can do that, from making sure that you celebrate the small wins along the way, so that you can
mhm,
see the progress, by making sure you have a good support system around you that's kind of there to rally you on when you don't not on sure sometimes, because there are times when that little voice in our head likes to perk up and tell you that maybe this isn't a good idea, or you're just going to fail anyway, or whatever that negative voice in our head is. So a good support system, is invaluable in keeping you going sometimes. Having an accountability partner, or maybe someone else who's trying to do what you're trying to do, so that you're not alone in pursuing something. So who can go on that journey with me.
mm.
Um, there's those sorts of things,
I-
because motivation, it ebbs and flows.
yeah. Is Jim Ron, was it Jim Ron or Zig Ziglar? I can remember exactly. It was being asked, I think it was Zig. He was being asked, I mean, I know motivation does not work, so stop giving those talks and encouraging people. And he says, yeah, that's why I encourage it I mean, because the person was saying it falls, it fluctuates every single day. You can end up fall, and then he said that's why I advocate for this. That's why I encourage it on a daily basis because it's like bathing. If you don't bath, you're gonna stink. So,
And sometimes it's not there, right? It's like it's easier to sit on the couch, binge watching TV and eating potato chips than sometimes standing up and going to the gym. Like,
mm,
I'm fine. Like, I know I need to go and do it, but I don't always have the motivation to go and do it, especially the hard stuff, right?
yeah,
And so to me, there's motivation and there's action, and it's cyclical. So sometimes you have to just do the action. You have to plain out force yourself to go and do it,
mm,
but then you're going to go to the gym, you're going to feel great afterwards because you've worked out, you're feeling better, you've got endorphins running, and you're like, wow, I'm glad I actually went, I feel better.
mm,
And the next day it's that much easier to go because you remember you felt good the day before, you were proud of yourself, you felt more confident, whatever those things were. Okay, great, now I have a little bit more motivation to go. And so sometimes it has to be action that leads you to motivation, and sometimes motivation is enough. It's there first. Like, there are people who are passionate about things that they do. They want to go start their own business. I am motivated to go and do that. Now I need to do the action to go and start the business. So I think those two things live in harmony together, or maybe not harmony, but they live together in a cyclical way. And sometimes the harder way is that you got to do the action first.
mm,
Um,
yeah. Yeah, encouragement to take the action or the action to bring the motivation. So, in your coaching, in the years that you've been there, what has been one of the biggest challenges you have either experienced or witnessed?
I think the biggest challenge is mindset.
Mm-hmm,
So it's one thing to say I have a dream, you can vision it, you can put the plan in place, I can help you think through all the steps, but motivation I think is the biggest thing.
mm-hmm,
Sorry, mindset's the biggest thing, because if we're not in the right mindset, um, we're going to allow that little voice to come in, and we're either going to be dealing with imposter syndrome, like, why on earth do I think that I should be doing this? Why me versus someone else? Or you're going to
mm-hmm,
have that little voice in your head that says, no, that's a ridiculous idea. Why would you do that? There's that mindset component of it, I think, is huge. And so, when I first started off coaching, I was more focused on the process.
mm-hmm,
And I think the mindset piece of it is just as big, because you can help people get to a place of clarity on what they want to do. But if their heads aren't in the right place, or you haven't put the right things in place to help them build up resilience to setbacks, or to know how to quiet that inner naysayer, then I can send you off into the world with the best possible plan, but it's going to be hard to execute if your head's not in the right place. And so that's something we spend a fair amount of time talking about, and I try to arm people with some tools and things that they can use when their heads go into that place,
mm-hmm.
um, be, because ultimately I believe our brain is a tool,
Yeah.
and you can use it for good, you can use it for not, and so if you know how your brain works, and you know how to counteract certain things that are going to pop up, you're better placed to be successful. Because our
Mm-hmm,
brain has been created and has evolved over time, to keep us safe.
mm-hmm,
And so safe is not always change, right? Change is it's unsettling, it's disruptive, it's scary sometimes, and so that's when things like fight or flight will come into play, and it's when your brain is going, nope, don't want to do that. That's scary. I like predictable. I like patterns. I like to know what's happening. I like to stay in my comfort zone. And so, once our brain evolved from a place of keeping us safe, so that if we perceived a threat, if there
mm-hmm,
was something chasing us, that we would run. There's not woolly mammoths chasing us anymore, but our brain can perceive even new ideas,
mm-hmm,
the idea of change, to be something that is equally unsettling, and we go into fight or flight. And so I think if you know that that's how your brain works, you can counteract that by having a positive talk track that you use, or making sure that you're very specific about what are the things you're putting into your brain. What are you ingesting on a daily basis? What are you listening to? What are you reading? Are you starting out your day by immediately grabbing your phone and looking at the news? And
Mm-hmm.
you have an opportunity, at the beginning of your day, to really set the course for the rest of the day. How are you spending your time in the morning? Are you jumping straight into emails and text messages and being pulled right into work, or are you taking the time to really get your head to the right place?
Mm.
And so that you can take on what comes at you during the day. So I think mindset, to answer your question, is the biggest thing that we deal with.
Wow, that's good. Uh, And I heard that you have some secrets of outsmarting my brain. Which are they?
Well, I mean, I think it's that. I think some of it is understanding how your brain works. It's knowing that when you are wanting to make change happen in your life, that your brain is going to try and protect you. And so I think once you have awareness to that's how your brain works, you can hear the voice and go, that's not me, right? That's not my voice. That's I don't believe that. I
Mm-hmm.
know that what I want to do is something that I've dreamed about for a long time, or this is something that I'm passionate about doing. It's something I've thought a long time about doing, and I am going to pursue this. And little voice, be quiet, because I know I can do this.
Yeah.
And that's where things like having positive mantras, having meditating, doing being practicing gratitude, where those things actually do make significant changes to your life.
Mm-hmm.
They I think to some people that seems like kind of a woo woo kind of thing, but it has now been researched and documented, that practicing gratitude actually has a profound effect on your overall positive state of being. And so, there's little things that you can do on a daily basis that really helps to shift your mindset, that gets you to that place. And so that when I say outsmarting your brain, I think it's being very specific about the things that you do. And they can be small things. It could be that you take the first 15 minutes of your day to set you up for success for the rest of the day,
Mm.
or you take the last 30 minutes of your evening to set you up so that you have a really good day the next day. And then I think it's those things like being aware of how are we responding to things. Is that actually what I believe? Or is that just a sort of a programmed voice that's coming up to keep me safe? And if it is, being aware of it and telling it it's wrong. The more you do that, you'll quieten that voice, because it takes courage to make change happen.
Yeah.
It takes resilience to stand up to the setbacks,
Mm.
and so I think we have to be very intentional about how we set ourselves up for success.
Yeah. And someone once told me that if you need to have some good answers in your life, then you've got to learn to ask some good questions. And you talk about five simple questions that you must answer to transform your life. I don't know, which are they, or are they the ones that you explained in the process? Tell us.
They are. So it's like, where do I want to get to? And you got to be clear about what that end goal is, right? I think because you have to have something that's concrete that you're working towards. Why do I want to get there? And that's the why conversation, because that becomes the motivation. And I think it's being very honest with yourself as to why you want to get there, because you don't have to tell anyone else, but it's your motivation. So be honest with yourself. Um, what's in my way of getting there? How am I going to overcome those? And then how am I going to stay motivated? I think if you can answer those five questions, which seem simple, but they're not, right? They take time and energy to work through. But I
Mm.
think if you can answer those five questions, I think you can get yourself out of the stuck place that you're in, and get yourself back on track. But I call my program what's next, because it's what's next for you. It's not the rest of your life. And
Yeah.
sometimes I think it's just as important when you're feeling stuck, to just do something. It might not be the right something, but it at least gets you going. And again, that's that motivation and momentum. Is that if you're in a place of being stuck, you know you have no kinetic energy. You need the push to get things rolling. And so do something, do
Just
something,
do
and
something.
do something. Even do something small.
Yeah.
I always tell people, choose something that's going to take you less than 2 minutes to do. So if my goal is I want to start taking yoga lessons, the first 2 minute thing that I can do is I can find my yoga mat.
Mm-hmm.
Great, I did that today. The next day I might put my yoga clothes on. The next day I might actually drive to where the yoga place is, and on day 4 maybe I'll go in. But if you can do those small steps and you feel accomplishment and you feel like you're progressing towards something, you're more likely to keep doing it. So make the first thing you do as easy as possible to do, that you can succeed within 2 minutes, because you will start yourself on that way.
Just get started.
Just get
Just,
started.
just, just do something.
Easier said than done, I know it is, and
Just do
that's
something.
again, it comes back to action. You got to force yourself sometimes.
Yeah. So, to everyone who's out there listening or watching, we thank you for taking your time. Now, this is Now Tellers, and we are here talking about getting unstuck and living your dream life. And those things that have been mentioned, I hope you've taken some notes to get unstuck and get going. The best one is just get started, just do something. Um, we are almost coming to the end of this show, and we could be having someone who's interested in following up with you. What's the best way?
The best way to find me is answer what's next is my website. From there, you can schedule a call with me. You can get my weekly newsletter if you want some tools and some weekly motivation. And there's a lot of good stuff on there. You can hear this podcast, for instance. So yeah, answer what's next. You can also find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on most social platforms, but the website is the easiest place.
Yeah, so that's www.answerwhatsnext.com. Go there and connect with Lauren.
Thank
What's
you.
next? What's next for you? Tell us. Not the big next thing that you're.
What's next for me? I want to continue to grow. What's next? Right now, it's done remotely, so that I can work with people in various places around the world. But what's next for me is I really would like to turn it into an in-person experience as well. So I'd like to start doing retreats where people can have an in-person experience of figuring out what they want to do next. So
That would be
that's
great.
that's my dream. Yeah, it would
That,
be.
that, that would be great. That's a big dream. The next, get unstuck and get moving. Plan
Yeah.
your plan your first retreat now.
Exactly, exactly. That's
Yeah,
that's
I'm
um
giving you the
that's
challenge. Yeah. So
that's I will take that challenge.
yeah, we are really thankful for you coming to Now Tell Us. We appreciate everything that you've shared with us, and I'm sure someone has gained some insight that he or she is going to apply in life to get unstuck and live his dream or her dream.
I hope so. I really do. Now's the time.
Yes.
There's no time like today to get going.
That's another thing. When is the best time to get started?
Today.
Today.
Today. Do something.
Yeah, do something. Just do something today. Don't just keep on contemplating and thinking and procrastinating. You can actually take your first step today, however small it is. That's so says Lauren. Before we go, what few words would you ask us to always remember?
Ah, your brain will get you there, right? And so you use it as a tool for good, and be really mindful of your mindset. Take those 15 minutes, 30 minutes at the beginning of your day, and set yourself up for success.
That's important. Very
It
important.
is. It
Yeah.
is.
So to everyone who's listening here, just think, remember that thinking is important. Think what you think. Plan your first few days in the morning to just use your brain to drive you to your success, to your dream. So says Lauren. Thank you very much. That's about it for today.
Thank you.
This, Yeah, this has been Now Tell Us. I've been your host, Anthony Morore, and together with our guest, Lawrence and George, we're saying, live your dream. And bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.